Hey YouTube, welcome to the Off-Grid Mountain Homestead. I'm probably going to step in it today. One of the biggest debates in backyard chickens or farm chickens is whether to wash or not wash your eggs, and whether to refrigerate or not refrigerate your eggs. So I've been compiling research for over a week. So I have references in the description of this video, so you can do your due diligence and check out the data. Like I said, just check out the description, study it up, make your own conclusion. I'm not going to recommend either way because it's about an even split between washers and unwashers and refrigerated versus unrefrigerated. So I'm just going to bring you some information I've read. Like I said, I'm not going to put my input into it, and in the comments y'all can have at it, hash it out between yourselves. I'll try to be subjective on the matter, try to keep the opinions out of it personally. But interesting research, interesting information. So a lot of you are aware that most of the store eggs in the United States are washed and refrigerated, and eggs have a cuticle, a protective layer on the outside, but you might not be aware that the cuticle deteriorates after 96 hours on the egg. The cuticle controls respiration on the egg for the chick if you're hatching the egg out. Well, that cuticle is not necessarily there to protect from bacteria. So as far as washing versus unwashing, even Purina recommends not washing your eggs. So the USDA and FDA does. So there's that. And a lot of folks say that, a lot of studies show that, unrefrigerated eggs will last for a while, and some say that no, that's not the case, that they'll go bad quick. Well, the rule of thumb that I found from the research is every day that the egg sits out on the counter at room temperature is equivalent to 1 week of refrigeration, and the average egg under refrigeration lasts 15 weeks. So the folks that say 2 weeks on the counter is safe, well, I mean, according to that math, that appears to be the case. Now, there's studies that show that bacteria jumps up in an egg within 7 days. So the egg goes from grade AA to grade B in a week on the counter at room temperature. And if you was to leave the egg under refrigeration, you'll go from grade AA to A in 15 weeks. So you can go beyond 15 weeks under refrigeration, according to some studies. And as far as the bloom or cuticles on the eggs, the studies show that it really doesn't matter under refrigeration if you wash it and remove the bloom or cuticle off the egg, or if you leave it intact. So there's that as well. So there's just a bunch of information out there, a bunch of different studies, and scientists have been studying the cuticle on the egg for about 130 years. They didn't even know it existed until roughly 130 years ago, and research has been on and off. There's been millions of dollars spent on egg research, professional laboratories, and professional scientists, professional stuff. And then of course there's the anecdotal cultural evidence and stuff that people's done over the years. And there's groups that, homesteaders, farmers, backyard chicken people, never refrigerate an egg. They lay them out for weeks, or they water glass them, or use isinglass or mineral oil and keep them for 9 months to a year, etc., etc. So I mean, it's hard to make a determination on what's the right way. And that's difficult. So much information out there, and it's such a hotly debated topic. I mean, it's almost a 50-50 split. So take it for what it's worth. As far as the poop on the eggs and washing them, if you got chickens, they're going to wear the coop down unless you move the coop on a forage type situation. You're going to have poop and mud on the eggs. But one tidbit: if you are going to wash your eggs, I can recommend this, that don't wash them in cold water, because cold water shrinks the insides of the egg and can pull bacteria into the egg. So if you are going to wash the eggs, use water roughly 15 to 20 degrees warmer than the egg, to your best guess, but below 120 degrees, so lukewarm to warm water to wash it. And that makes the egg expand, and if there's any bacteria sitting on the bloom or the cuticle, it'll push it out. And another thing about the bloom or cuticle, some eggs that have been studied don't even have a bloom or cuticle on them, depending on the breed of the chicken. So there's another wrench, you know, throw a wrench in the works there. Some eggs don't have a cuticle on them. So there's one for the folks that say it don't matter if you wash them or not, or the ones that, the ones that say, you know, washing them removes the cuticle. Well, some don't have a cuticle, so that kind of puts that one at a nil point. I said this is like the 4th time I've tried to film this because I end up getting opinionated in it. I can't help it. So this is doing my best to stay subjective on the matter and let you decide for yourself, because can't recommend a practice that's not been proven or accepted by scientific authority or laboratory studies technically. But then again, a lot of you say, well, the scientific studies haven't been very good the last couple of years. Well, yeah, I'll give you that, but you know, as far as the eggs, I don't think there's a conspiracy in the scientific egg studies, but take that for what it's worth too. So let's see if the girls have throwed any eggs out first thing this morning. See if they've been to work yet. Yep, we got one working right now. We'll come back in a few minutes and see if she's done her business. But another tip for chickens, if you're a non-washer, keep your straw or your bedding in their nest house clean. That will help tremendously if you're not wanting to wash your eggs, to keep the soil filth off of them and keep their roost box and everything cleaned out the best you can, which I got to clean this one today. I usually clean it every other day. But keep your straw changed every week or two depending on your soil and manure loads, and keep them girls happy. And yes, Europe, Africa, Asian countries, a lot of them, they don't wash the eggs. They hold the old adage that, you know, the cuticle protects the egg. The United States used to hold that adage too until the 1970s. Big salmonella outbreaks were coming from the eggs, were determined by the USDA and the FDA that the salmonella is coming from bacteria on the egg. So that's when all the egg washing and sanitization measures came into effect, and also standardized chicken breeds to help maintain proper shell thickness and feed conversions and more consistent results. Things like that came into the 70s and early 80s. And if you look back through the salmonella studies, the salmonella has been greatly reduced in the United States since the 1970s by washing, refrigerating eggs. And there's studies on preservation methods and stuff too, but I'm not going to go into that in today's video. This is just to get you thinking, is your method right or is it wrong? Is it something you'd be willing to risk salmonella poisoning over, so on and so forth? Just food for thought. Well, the missus here throwed her egg out, so there we go. We got 2 so far. Not bad first thing in the morning. The other 2 will come this afternoon, I'm sure. Pretty consistent. But you can see these, yeah, see, a little poop on it. Not too bad, but commercial eggs, they are washed in a sanitizing solution. They have to be under refrigeration within 36 hours of the chicken laying it. So many rules and regulations on the eggs in the United States. A certain size producers that fall under a certain amount of eggs per year don't have to follow the washing and refrigeration guidelines. That's dictated by local jurisdictions wherever the farmer or small egg producer is located. So keep that in mind. If you're purchasing eggs from a roadside stand or farmer's market, you don't know if the eggs were washed, if they were sanitized, if they've been sitting out for 2 weeks, or they've been in under refrigeration for 2 weeks, or if they're a month old. You don't really know until you get them home and bust them open and check the yolk and, you know, the whites and stuff, and see what the condition is. So just keep that in mind. If you're purchasing from a small individual, you have to rely on them, because a lot of the regulations are kind of lax compared to a commercial facility. So use caution if you're purchasing from a private individual that you don't know personally. But I recommend get your own chickens. Then you control it yourself, and you know the sanitization and the handling of your eggs. And one more tidbit, if you are going to refrigerate them, keep them under refrigeration. Don't bring them in and out of refrigeration. That will pull bacteria into the egg. So you're going to keep them cold, keep them cold. You're going to keep them warm, keep them warm. And can you use the float test method to determine the age of eggs? Well, it's sort of accurate. There's studies on that too that show the float test is not always accurate to determine the age of the egg. We can go over that later if you're more interested in the float method, which I don't float test mine because we either give them away or consume them before they even age out a couple of weeks in the refrigerator. Whoops, I just gave away part of my process, but I say I'm not necessarily recommending or condoning refrigeration versus unrefrigerated, but I guess since it's out, yeah, I do store mine under refrigeration. So, now what do y'all do? Y'all refrigerate? Do you leave them on the counter? You ever had any problems? So on and so forth. Do you wash them? Do you not wash them? I'm not going to tell you if I wash them or I don't wash them, but just going to say, do you think that's going to sit in my refrigerator? I don't want that in the refrigerator, that poopy on it. So let me know in the comments. Y'all have at it. Go back and forth. I know it's going to probably be a 50-50 split between the washers, the unwashers, the refrigerated versus unrefrigerated. If you don't mind, hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, we greatly appreciate a subscription from you. I'll see you in the comments. Thanks for watching the Off-Grid Mountain Homestead.